Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is Friday, May 13th, 2022. Just a lovely day. Actually, it is. Nice setup this morning for this freak show of a stock market. Let's talk about that. Right now, stock futures higher across the board. You got a 10-year yield somewhat stabilizing off of the cratering that we've seen as of late. I mean, we went from like 3.14 on the 10-year down to like 2.8 in a matter of a couple of days. I mean, that's a massive move. A lot of fear. And, the typical movement of cash into the perceived safety of debt, you got to be out of your freaking mind. But, that's the way it went. The comparative strength of the dollar, notice my wording here, the comparative strength of the dollar has really taken off as of late. Look, with regard to currencies, I've explained this a gazillion times, but I'm going to tell you again. Central banks around the world are in a race to the bottom, and the U.S. dollar still remains the prettiest belle at the ball. Lovely. It ain't helping nobody with inflation surging out of control. Year over year, energy prices up like over 30%. Food out of control, but everything is just fine. Oh yeah, we got an admission. We got an admission today from our illustrious freak, our Fed chairperson Powell, and this is what he said here. Oh, the Fed should have been raising rates sooner. Duh. It couldn't happen anyway, because if you recall, the last President Trump was screaming from rooftops how the Fed, needed to keep rates negative and needed a weaker dollar. And, the Federal Reserve played right along. If you look back on history, honestly, at the current freak, Bidenstein, the previous freak, Trump, and the one before him, Obama, no ever in history have another three presidents allowed their central banks to go absolutely postal like these three, to keep that stock market propped up. It's an incredible thing here, making the Federal Reserve now absolutely beyond any shadow of a doubt the strongest institution the world has ever known, thanks to the last three presidents. So you can just, say, hey, thanks to all three of you. You're the greatest. Anyway, with that said, look, I think we all have a great perspective on what's happening. Now, with that said, let's go back to this market. So stock futures higher across the board, 10-year yield looking lovely, dollar flat, relatively flat. We got crude oil people surging higher yet again, and you knew this was going to happen. I hope you guys are getting in on commodities. I've been telling you for I don't know how long now. You should be looking at commodity ETFs. There's a whole bunch of them. ETF meaning exchange traded fund. I had picked one out of a hat for you, PDBC. I happen to own that. You need exposure here to commodities in my view. Okay. Gold and silver right now under a little pressure. Cryptocurrencies, a pretty nice rebound. Bitcoin back around 31,000. It's not going to zero. I don't care how many of you people are trying to convince yourselves and me that it is. It's not going to zero. But you still, you can think whatever you want. I've been hearing this for I don't know how many freaking years now. I've been telling people to buy Bitcoin since like $2,700. I think people did pretty darn good. And again, my take on it. I'm not even going to go over it again with how this is going to play out in my view. Okay, so with that all aside here, people, what are you and I going to do? Well, as I covered yesterday, I showed you a nice, lovely chart. I explained to you that there were three support levels for the S&P 500. Right now, the S&P 500 is attempting to not fall into bear market territory. In order to hit bear market territory, I actually wrote this down. The S&P 500 would have to hit 3837.25 to be precise, 3837.25 with regard to the S&P 500. We did not get there as of yet. That would mean a 20% sell-off from the recent high, and that would mean we are in a bear market with regard to the S&P 500. So there is some support here. Let's see how that plays out. There really is an unbelievable amount of bearish sentiment right now, and not just for the stock market. I mean, there are people who are bearish about everything right now. They don't want to hold gold or silver. They don't want to hold cryptocurrencies. They don't want to hold any stocks. So I mean, it's pretty widespread here. And to me, look, you know my take on it. I've been writing all kinds of stuff about this recently in my newsletter. Hint, free. It's really free. I'm not kidding. Somebody wrote to me, "Hey Greg, how much is your free newsletter?" It's free. Free. Let me show you something here. In case you maybe, I know how people just don't understand things. It's free. You see, free, meaning it doesn't cost you nothing. My free newsletter, okay? Drives me nuts. Really does. Anyway, so yes, that's where we stand right now, people. Look, in my view, again, this market here is in a corrective phase of one type or the other. With regard to the NASDAQ, okay, I know there's a lot of people out here keep pointing their fingers over at the NASDAQ because the NASDAQ is actually in bear market territory. But again, what type of a bear market? Again, everyone's so, they throw these words out. Oh, it's a bear market. Oh, it's a bear market. What kind? And what other dynamics are in play here? With regard to the NASDAQ, it looks to me, and you can look this up for yourself, okay? In fact, that's what I want you to do. I'm going to tell you what I believe, what type of a bear market the NASDAQ is in. And for a little homework, for those of you that keep throwing this word around, since you know everything, well, look this up. I believe the NASDAQ is in a cyclical bear market, meaning, well, you look it up, okay? Anyway, with that said, people, that's where we stand right now. There are so many other dynamics that are in play right now. Again, look at the mainstream media. They're playing up this resurgence of COVID to the point of they're trying again to scare the living hell out of people. It's always, they try to sell things to you using fear. Fear is the most powerful tool that there is, especially when it's propagated by the mainstream media outlets, the distractions, the misinformation here. It's going to continue here. And what they're doing is, again, we have a government, a fake government. The real government is the Federal Reserve, central banks around the world that are desperate to allow central banks to continue to inflate. And they're going to do this via any mechanism possible. Crisis, crisis, crisis. So what they're doing is they're selling fear to the people yet again so they can throw even more money. Even though we have $1 trillion, $1 trillion, which must be spent on COVID because it's already there. It's already been allocated. They want more. So courtesy of you, the American people and the people around the world, you will be funding that crisis for a very, very long time. With regard to the war, this war is being set up in such a way, and I think it's pretty evident right now, that it will go on and on and on and on. Again, why? Allowing this crisis to continue so epic, and I mean epic sums of cash can be thrown at it. So again, what is this doing? We don't have the money. Developed nations around the world are all broke. They're in debt beyond, and they're going to call on their central banks to continue to create cash out of thin air to fund everything. And this is, again, part of this scheme behind central banks wanting to be the lenders and buyers of last resort, to own it all, to create nation slaves, individual slaves. It's a slave world. And that mechanism is going to continue. All right, look, so in summary here real quick. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Oh, you got to hear this. So, we've been hearing from, Fed presidents, and each one of them has a different narrative. They always do this. One freak says this, another freak says that. So on top of Powell here explaining, oh yeah, the Federal Reserve should have been raising rates sooner than, now, duh. But they couldn't do it. The last president didn't want it. The guy before that didn't want it. No, nobody wants it. They want the stock market propped up. They want that wealth transfer effect to continue. And again, this was a stealth way of allowing the tsunami of inflation that we're seeing now to manifest itself. There's no way that anybody out here, including yourself, did not know that at one point we were going to get this environment of raging inflation. When you have president after president after president, the last three, calling on their central bank, the Federal Reserve, to continue to push easy money into this market, keep rates suppressed, calling for a weaker dollar, there's no way out of this. There's no way out of what we're seeing now. And they all knew it. They all knew it. But again, presidents, kings, queens, monarchs, none of these people give a damn about you at all. It's about the elite. It's about the 1 and 2 percenters, and that's who they work for. Actually, they work for the central banks, who are puppetized, who have puppetized everything here, and they're running the entire show. So stock futures right now, as I said, are higher across the board. We have some support here with regard to the S&P 500. I'm not sure it's going to hold. Okay, but we'll see, because a lot of bears out here. But the market is going to attempt, the S&P 500 is going to attempt to not fall into bear market territory. And if it does, we will define that as I have defined the NASDAQ for you. And you have some homework to do. Cyclical. Look up that word. Cyclical bear market. Anyway, all right, so people, what are we going to do? Are we going to stop doing what we're doing here? Are we going to, all of a sudden, you and I, the people that have a functioning brain, we will continue to bet against the debt, continue to become our own central banks. For you gold and silver haters, I don't understand it. I can't get it through my head, and I am still waiting for one of you to tell me where I got this wrong. Why you shouldn't be in physical gold, physical silver, platinum, palladium as well. I love physical silver. It's my favorite of all time. And why you at least shouldn't have some cryptocurrency in your portfolio. I'm telling you, I really feel strongly about this. We're going to get a massive, in my view, again, look, you're entitled to your own, but I'm going to say it again. Debt market implosion is going to precede a tsunami of cash that's going to leave the debt market, leave the stock market, and move into commodities. And I mean in a big way. And I also believe into cryptocurrencies, okay? The big ones is especially, you want to hold one? Bitcoin. How about that? Okay, you can all have your own favorite, but that's the one that everyone seems to kind of relate to. There are several other good ones out here. And as a matter of fact, if you again are a subscriber to my free newsletter, I listed every single cryptocurrency that I currently hold. All right, so go over there and have a look at my cryptocurrency holdings, which ones I have. And I'm not saying you have to mimic me at all, but look, I'm not going to beat this like a dead horse. You do what you want. I think people need to be diversified. I still believe sincerely you need to be an oil and gas producers here. You need exposure to commodities. You need some consumer staples in your portfolio. And yes, despite the fact that financials and banks have done miserably as of late, you need at least one of these institutions in your portfolio. I still sincerely believe we are going to see a resurgence in this market, and it's going to hit all new record highs before the end of this year. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. But that's my take on it. I'm just giving it to you straight, and we'll see how it plays out. That's all I can tell you. All right, look, I'm out of here. One more thing. For the market to actually hit record highs again, the financials would have to turn around. And I think, yet again, people, there's a massive opportunity. What have I been telling you for the longest time? You look at the environment, and to me, it's clear that there are deals to be made and a lot of cash to be made moving forward in this freak show. Obviously, you're entitled to your own opinion on this, but anyway, I think a lot of you understand where I'm coming from on this. All right, look, I'm sincerely out of here. Long video. I'll see you all later at the end of the day. Please share this. Please comment. I'm out of here.